Thank you for joining. Let's see what we got here. Oh, yes. A nice group of fish just dying to eat something. Let's see what we got. I have here in front of me. Hey, you like that, buddy? Mm-hmm. It's just a little brick. Let's take a look and see what's going on, man. Okay. They get the idea. I think. Oh, boy. They don't waste a moment. Hey, Blue Water Aquariums, thank you for joining us. Yes, I'm keeping well. Basically, it's always hard to get everything done in a day. There's so much going on. Look at this. They love these Australian blackworms. That's what these are. Of course, they're freeze-dried and shipped all over. But for blue waters, yes. Big shout out to Australia. We get a number of folks on our channel. And yes, they love. Now look. Yummy, yummy. And even the cichlids, that's the Micron, those gorgeous little fish there. Hi, Red Laser. Yeah, they too have been really coloring up greatly. I'm going to take these for a display at the expo coming up in a few weeks. That will be interesting. They're so nice looking. They might draw some attention. I don't know. You never know how they'll look when transferred to a new setup or whatever. Stubbs, thank you. And Robert Lucas, thank you for joining. Great to have the crew together for a Friday night. At least if it's just to consider a few neat little things going on. I really love it when the fish are this friendly. They come up and pick at the food. Sometimes I can just put my fingers in the water and they'll come inspect it. You'd think they were these little minnows that were the kind that clean your toenails. But no, these fish, not these fish. Not at all. They are looking for some of these nice worms. This little pack is getting hard to hold. Let's see. There we go. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for joining us. I was just saying, I know you'll be at the expo, of course. And there we go. These beautiful cichlids. I think I'm going to bring them. I should put one in a show. I think there's a class. Isn't there a class for the cichlids? I could show one of these guys. Yeah. Yeah, they want this. Yeah, so as they eat and pick away, little pieces go crazy all over the tank, and that's when the ones that don't come up close, the ones over yonder, will just sit there and wait for it to come, because I think I'm in blowing in the blower, the output of the filter, so the filter's coming. You see all that air coming through. It's just pushing the water, and so any kind of loose food just gets floated around the aquarium. Luminatus don't get much when I feed this, but I also feed a lot of red flakes, and I also feed some granules, different things. Oh boy, let's see what happens. I let go. Let's see who gets the big bite. There he goes. There it goes. There it goes. It goes flying across the tank. Who's gonna get it? Ah, the discus. It's like a big attack. So let's get busy because I don't want to. I got a lot to do tonight, and it's an exciting night. We got some new fish in the fish room, and these are those. They hatched yesterday. Let's hope. I'm hoping that more will survive than the last couple of spawns. It looks like even with full bellies, many times they don't survive. I don't know why. These are red lizard plecos. Fish Fam link, thank you. Oh yeah, I forgot to post prior to the live stream all the little heads up to everybody, but maybe one day I'll get in the mode, and what we'll do is we'll be able to do something with the schedule, make it more exact, more regular. Yeah, these, I don't know how many are in here. I don't know if you're counting, but I'm counting. I counted yesterday, there were like 32. And so now I think there's even more because there were still eggs in the tunnel. There's Dad's tail at least. He's a whiptail. And by the way, a shout out to Cat's Caves. This is one of her stamped caves. So let's see. Sometimes they just die. I mean, I saw one that had died in the corner here, like the day it was born. So I don't know. That just seems kind of strange. So they weren't too successful. And what I had is in the last batch, you know, this is all that's left. We had a lot of them, but this is all that's left. They're growing nice, but as you can see, there is only about 6 or 7 outside in aquatics. Welcome. And Mayor is here in the house. That's great. So glad. Wow. So I don't know the whole story as to why they died off. It didn't make any sense to me because there was nothing that was really causing it. It was just, even with full stomachs, they would just not make it. So we're still trying to figure that out. Now here's the dilemma we have with the black rams. We had a super large batch. This tubby has a number of them that are doing well, actually. Surprisingly well. I had them in a breeder box at first and they started dying off quickly. So I took them out of the breeder box and put them in a tubby, and they're doing much better. Definitely a plus there. This is a different group, but they're all doing well, just a smaller hatch rate. Over here, I decided to, they were all hanging up at the top. I decided to see what would happen if I increased the airflow, and as you can see, they're all over the place. So it's been a while. Maybe it's been 30 minutes. I think I'm going to reduce it now so it's not so violent. Sometimes okay. It's kind of hard to adjust sometimes. I have 2 valves in series, and it still makes it very tough to get it fine-tuned. I think it's the air stones, because I think the air stones, they don't, it looks like, is that an old one? That's an older stone. So it makes it very difficult to fine-tune them. Get them like just, see, it goes off or blasting. It's very hard to make it right in between. There we go. At least that's, I don't know if that's less. I think that's less. We'll give them a chance to settle down, see if that works. There's a good 100 in there. There's a good 50 in there. Up here, this is all from the same batch, by the way. There was 100, 2 to 200 in each one of these up here. I think the spawn in particular was at least almost close to 1,000 fry, probably 800 to 900, and most of them have died off already. This is the 6th day, and this is the time period when they really go. So I just changed their water, and this is what happens too. They go to the top, and we haven't quite figured out what is causing this. They go to the top, they get caught. They just hang out in the surface tension along the water, and they can just hang out there without any effort. There's still quite a few in here floating around, but I think it's the gold rams, the gold ones that are actually growing quickly. In a few days, they grow into something. See, these are doing well. Same batch, just different container. And I put in some vinegar eels. I already fed them the vinegar eels and changed their water about an hour ago. Okay, so now, and look at, still there's so many that they're just either hanging out in the corner and they're not going to make it, but a lot of these are still alive. They're just there. I don't know. You see, there's some movement. They move. See, they're alive, kicking, but they don't seem to be swimming normally like they should. And that's the problem. Here's a bright light on this one. Maybe we can get a better view. Many of them, if they start sitting on the bottom, they're not going to really make it. Thank you, Agua Bonita. Welcome. Agua Bonita. And for those who don't speak Spanish, that means beautiful water. Maybe most people can figure that out. Since I do speak Spanish, it's kind of easy for me. Although here in Canada, they either speak English or French. Well, this is the situation. So right now, I'm going to put in there. I'm going to put in here a surface tension type of food. So that seems to be working out the best, because I noticed when I put it in, the fish are going to start, shall we say, go to the top and just graze off the surface. So I got the vinegar eels, which will come to the surface. They have to breathe. So there's also this new food. I got it today because I decided that maybe my old food was a little too old. So that's another good thing. Hola, agua bonita. And here it is. I got this Pro Defense. It's 60% protein. It's by Tropical. It says it's a probiotic, and I don't know if it's going to be good, but we're going to give it a try. Food with probiotic for fry. I guess they get the 60% by putting dried yeast in it. Yep. So we're going to give this a try. It's fresh, so that would be better. The food I had was probably expired. I also picked up another food that is what I've been using, but this is a fresh batch, unopened. It is the Micron fry food. This is what I've been using for years. And good stuff. I like the, it cost me today $7 Canadian dollars. So I don't know what that is. That's probably whatever 80% or 75% of that is in US dollars. Anyways, this is the choice. We're going to feed that tonight. I would like to feed, let me just give a demonstration. Let's see, I'm going to feed these two right here with the new probiotic. So I'm going to set the camera down so I can do it. I don't know if I'm going to lose everybody. I don't know how well it works. I want to show you my camera. Let's see. So this is I'm going to feed with the new food just for demonstration. We'll feed. I'm going to feed these two with the tropical, and I want to feed these two with the Sarah. I want to see if there's any difference whatsoever. There probably won't be anything noticeable. Here's the top. When it comes, I open the lid, and you can see it's plastic sealed with clear, so you can see what you're getting. People can open up the lid. That's kind of a great marketing idea. You can actually see the food, so you open it up and say, oh, there's the food. That's what it looks like. And then, of course, it's still sealed. It's kind of a great idea, really. And so, let's see if we can... I'm going to remove the lid. Now what I do, and I'm going to feed such a small amount. Hey, Didi's Finden. Howdy do, and welcome to you. This is actually very fine powder, and that's good because they are very small. So let me show you how I'll do that with the little. I have a little tiny. Where did I put it? Put it over here. So this is it. Let me show you up close. This is a 1/32 of a teaspoon scoop. And it's already got some of the old food in it. Let me try to, I'll wipe it off. But this is 1/32 of a teaspoon. So just, oh wow, you're thinking about going Saturday? I hope you do. If you do, Chris, that would be great for you to stop by our booth. It's called Aquarium Biz, and that's our booth, and we are located just right on the backside of Fluval. So great to see you, just to meet the folks. We're just kind of having an opportunity to meet everybody in person. So this is a plastic spoon. I buy these in bulk, like a packet of a whole bunch of them, and I send you one of these if you order a paramecia culture, and they come with the paramecia culture because this is what I use for. I use 3 scoops of this for each paramecium scoop. Yeah, so you already got one. Okay. So let me clean this off. Now this is the part that you're going to be surprised. Now, hey, thanks, Mayor. Meyer is one of my best friends. Thank you so much. You're just doing awesome. Now, I do appreciate the super chat. Now, this scoop is great because, yeah, it's 1/32. But you know how much I actually use for one of those things, one of those containers? Let's see if I can scoop up some. If I did this much, that's way too much. So we'll get it down to there. Believe it or not, that is all I will use, and it should stay on the surface. Let me see. So I'll show you as we put it in, okay? All right, let me just go over there with you. And I will put it in this one. There is a hole here, and we're just going to put it in here, and we're going to watch to see what happens. You know, I don't know. I just... Nope. And then, let's take a look at the surface. There it is. Interesting. Looks like the little pellets are falling. You know what? I think this food is not going to work. Yes, the Canadian Aquatic Expo. It is on Airport Road, and you see how this food is kind of chunky. Looks too big for my tiny baby rams. I'm afraid that it's not gonna work. I don't know. Now, in comparison, let's take a look at the next one. I'm gonna show you the big difference between that baby food, which is probably for giant babies, and interesting. So this is what we were just doing. Looks too chunky. I am going to open up now the other fry food, and let's take a look at that. It's over here. Okay. There it is. Fry food from Sarah. Now the Sarah bottle is kind of interesting too. What was the price on this one? $6.99. The other one was, What was the price on the other? It didn't have a price. I don't know what I paid. I think I paid $10 at Big Al's. And $6.99, $7. This one has a seal. This is a European, also a European brand. See, really, they're both made in Europe. Okay, how does this open? Oh, yeah. So it's got a seal, and you open it up by swinging around this little tab. Get that going. Now you have what I really like about these bottles is a real tight seal. Now watch. So now it's open, but you have to use your thumb and see how it's got this lip on it that just like pops in that boom, airtight. So it keeps it super airtight. This little bottle is not a little screw-on bottle like the other one, but I'm going to show you something about it. The other one was, what did we say, 60% protein. That's what it said, yeah. What is the protein on this one? Did I miss it? Feeding guide. Ingredients. It's got krill and spirulina. Here we go. Crude protein. Okay, this one's 55.5%. Is it really, that much? Is that much difference really going to matter? Well, this is the key. Let me show you the real difference. We're going to take a little scoop of this stuff. And we're going to knock off just until we get like that much. It's just a tiny, tiny pinch. That's all I need, right? Okay. So this I just knock it with my finger and I get the smallest amount. Now, let's go take a look to see what happens when I put that in the water. This has been a revelation. I bought the new stuff. I thought maybe this was going to be great, but if it's not Micron, okay, let's see, I have a hole on this one as well. Where's the hole? It's way over on the other side. The other choice is I just lift it like this, watch. Stick it in, knock it like, okay. And then, now it's gone. Let's look at the surface. Now, what I like about this food, Micron. Thank you, Medina, for joining the FishEZ membership. That is so awesome. It's great to have memberships because it supports the channel. It also helps us to form a good community bond. Now, notice that you don't see chunks flying down. In fact, I have seen this will stay on the surface for probably hours. I mean hours. If the water is too bubbly, yeah, it won't be there too long. But Mayor, this is the thing. There are two rules of thought, and one is, yeah, they do pick at it. I do see them picking at it, and I've been using more of this Micron food, this particular go around, because it's worked in the past, and I wanted to see. Now, question: do they eat it? Now, see, notice they go for it. I see this one here going for it, and they're really focused on the surface because they're at the surface. I don't know why. If anybody can ever explain that, I love it. I would love you for it. If we had some answers to some of the questions that have been plaguing the rearing of very small fry, such as black rams. Now, they will pick at it. They also have the live food going for them, but I noticed that their stomachs do show signs of being full, and they do get food. There's one zipping around. Look at them. They see the food and they get excited. So I know that even at this age, they do eat it. Now, this is the other thing. When it falls to the bottom, here's what this is where they're at. Look. You see them? Just right at the bottom. Yeah, some are at the surface, but others are at the bottom. So as it comes down, it's going to actually be on the ground as well. And when I take out water, when I do a water change, I try to get as much of the excess food that isn't eaten. I try to get that out. I try to get most of it out. But this is the thing, you know? They're down there picking at it. And rams do pick at food that, you know, they like to pick at food that's at the bottom. So let's take a look back at the other food. I just put it in here. Looks like most of it's no longer on the surface. Doesn't seem to be as ground as fine as the Micron powder that the Sarah produces. But let's take a look at the bottom. Yeah, see, there's one picking at it right now. It's kind of picking around. That's what I find. I don't know if that's coming across. It's kind of clear on my screen. I don't know how clear it is for you guys. It's kind of hard to know on the other end. And thanks, Chris, for the reminder. We all can do that. Yeah, I've been using the Sarah Micron for years. The bottle I had, because I bought it like 4-pack or something, I realized was like 6 to 7 years old. And I said, boy, that's no good. Because of humidity and stuff, it shouldn't last that long. So that's when today I went and got the new refresher bottle. Just make the food fresh. So anyway, that's the Black Ram update. And we looked at the other. Tonight I really want to clean these out. I went ahead and bleached these because the snails, as you can see, were growing out of control. So these are out of commission, these 3 tanks. This is where the Luminatus are hatched. And this is the latest batch, the youngest batch. And they're doing very well. As you can see how many are up there. They're going to get there, and there's snails. See, the snails come in with the mops. I don't have snails in this fish room. Or pond snails, I should say. I have some snails, but I don't have pond snails, but they're in these tanks because, and I don't want them transferring to other tanks, that's for sure. I don't care for them. They're just too out of control. And you get too many of them, and then, so we've got some update now. Let's see. Before, the older ones came out of here. I moved them over to this tank, or not this tank, but this breeder box. I think from the breeder box, instead of putting them in a tank, I'm going to take them straight over to the grow out house. And that's what's in them. They have some red lizards that are from a more advanced. There's like 6 of those. But look at the Luminatus. Doing very well. At this age, they don't have a lot of color. But at this age, they're starting to sex up. And you can see females and males and the blue eyes. These are blue-eyed Luminatus. And if you've ever watched Nick on his Keeping Fish Simple channel, you notice he's recently done a number of events on these, or videos on these particular. They're gorgeous. When they get just a little bit bigger than this, they'll get more colored. How can you tell a male from a female? I've had that question a number of times. It's actually very easy. Look at the pectoral fins and look for pom-poms. Females don't have pom-poms. So let me show you one. It's got pom-poms. They're like little specks of color on the tips of each pectoral fin. This is like a lot of females in this group. And that one, there's a male right there. Right there. That's a male. You can't see it, maybe from this angle. You can see some, yeah, do you see on the pectoral fins? I wonder if I can zoom in any. Oh, yeah, I can. There's a lot of females. Okay, the lower one, the most colored one, his pom-poms have tips on them. I think so. Uh, it's not a bad thing to have a lot of females, I guess. Temperature difference at the surface. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. One of my red lizards has only one pectoral fin. Is that what I see there? Yeah, he's a little. He's got a little deformity. Don't get a lot of that. Most of them look good. These all look good. They do change from brown to red to brown to red. They kind of go back and forth sometimes. So it's not always. To me, I don't know what makes the red come out. Like this one is quite red, but it might turn brown as it ages. Okay. And so what did I also want to show you tonight? Here's a beautiful example of a pom-poms. When you see the males, these down here are fricatus, but it's the same. All the blue eyes are the same. The males have these pom-poms. Look at the pectoral fins on these guys. See those things? That's what you look for. Even when they're young, they'll start to get those. And as soon as you see any spots, there's mostly males in this particular tank. I only have one female. So tonight we're going to move this guy back into his tank. I don't think there's any more eggs to hatch in there, so we'll put him back into his tank and put him back in there. That's where he belongs. And he did very well. I took him out on Tuesday, and Wednesday they all hatched. No, vice versa. Not vice versa. It was the next day. So Wednesday I took him out. It was the 23rd, whatever day that was, because that's what I wrote down. If you remember on a past episode, I wrote down the day I expected for them to be taken out. So I wrote the 8:23. So I did the calculation. I said I got to remove them at 8:23 because the trapping was 8:11. So I moved him at 8:23, and sure enough, I'm glad I moved him on that day, even though it was really late at night. I was really tired, but I moved him, and the very next day, poof, they all came out. So that way I captured them into the breeder box instead of having to use a tool such as this one to get them out of the tank. So I could just have to remove them with a suction of a baster. So tonight I wanted to show you something else, and that was we're going to take a look at the Grindelworms. The Grindelworms down there. This is my tray, and I went to the feed store because I ran out of food for the Grindelworms. So I went to Fanatics, and I said, "Hey, Mike, I'm looking for food for the Grindelworms. In other words, worms. I want expired food if possible." And that's what happened. He has expired food. If you ask him for it, I'll show you what you get. This is brine shrimp flakes. It's a packet. It's quite a bit in there, actually. It's expired. I think the date on it is 2020. And that's a couple years old, past expire date. So he doesn't sell it, but for fish. But when you ask him for it, you say, "Hey, I'm looking for expired food, cheap. I'm looking for cheap food for my worms."
And in that case, he'll say, "Yeah, I got some out back." So then he charged me $2 Canadian for this. Yeah, I hope you have a chance to raise some blue eyes. I love blue eyes. Fricatas are really easy and good. I like those, but we're going full tilt on the Luminatus because those are our favorites of all of them. There are others, but not quite as brilliant as that. But anyway, I wanted to show you something about this. So I take this brine shrimp flakes in this case, and I just kind of crushed them in the packet before I opened it. All right, just as best as I could, because I want them to crumble up. And then, after that, I put it in this container. So I have a container that I'm going to use, and let me show you what that looks like. So, there we go. So there they are. I just kind of crushed them down. So I'll use this for the food. Yes, you can keep them together, but I'll tell you something about the rams and the blue eyes. What really works out well is to put blue eyes with a mop in a tank with plecos, because the mops aren't bothered by the plecos. So I don't know if you see right here, down below in this lower tank where the frittata side, there's a mop on the corner, and the red lizard plecos are not going to bother the mop. But if you have rams, they're a cichlid, and they'll go poking around and poking around and poking around, and they will just. I think they will, if they can see the eggs, if they can find the eggs, they'll get them. But you probably will have success if you tried it, because they do lay the eggs inside the mop. They go diving into the mop. The male follows the female, and then they lay them kind of hidden. So it's very possible the rams won't find the eggs. And you can also change the eggs out a lot. I had Gertrude Agua Bonita. I had those, and I just had too many different varieties, so I just cut down and just stuck with the Luminatus. But I had good success with those. Good night, Nancy. Thanks for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure. So now, let me pull up the worms and I'll show you. What's going on there. I have learned something about the container and this particular one. I learned this from a video I was watching. And what he does is this experienced fish keeper, what he did was he takes a piece of glass and he sets it on top of where the food is. So you see the worms, I have them here on a pad. I use a pad for the media. But you can use dirt. I think a lot of people use dirt, and I'm going to try dirt. I have already bought it. I just haven't gotten around to installing it or putting it in. So let me see if I can position this right so you can see what I'm doing. All right, there we go. Maybe we can tilt the camera, set you away. Okay, there we go. So these, I keep lids on these. Most people poke holes in them. I don't even poke holes in them. But that's because I open them up every day. And in this case, there's glass on top. And for some reason, the weight of the glass, I don't know what it is, but the food disappears. No matter how much food I put on here, it will be gone tomorrow. Now you see along the sides, well, maybe you can't see, but there's tons of little baby worms coming up the sides. It's not the best ideal situation, but I'm going to just hold this up. This is the macrame, and I'm going to show you what happens. I separate it from the glass. There it is, worms. And now I can take this and put it back onto the mat. I can also use this for feeding because I can put this in the tank. And let's see how much comes off here. That would be interesting. I'm going to take this just to see how much is on here. We're going to feed our West African cichlids. Here we have our West Africans, and they know it's feeding time. So I'm going to dip this in here. Oh my goodness, that was a lot on that one. So they get a batch of my microbensis. Also get a batch. And they love the worms. There he is back there. You'll see the worms. I think he's camera shy, but it will come out. So as you can see, I got without even the glass, I got tons of worms off this. And coming back here, I place it back on flat. Then the food goes on top of here for tomorrow night, because I will feed that many worms every night, every single night. The more you keep feeding the worms, the more they grow. And the glass piece, I also dump in a tank, and I get a big batch of food from them. Let's see. You know who loves these worms? Yep. Well, you know how much they love worms. We were watching them eat earlier, right? Okay, watch what happens. I'm going to put the glass in here. They're all kind of... And now there's worms everywhere. They love those worms. Those are Grindelworms. Now they're eating those. So my fish get live foods on a super regular basis. Now what I do is I'm going to place this here at the end, and we're going to actually feed some food here. Let's see if I can position the camera so you can see the food. Yeah, there you go. You can see how much I put in there. I like expired granules better. I don't know why. It seems to work out better, but it just does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scoop, and my scoop is on the other side of the room. I have this scoop, and this is my scoop, and I just use this scoop to let's see, I'm going to just do this. It's already been wet because moisture is there because it was dipped into the tank. And I just kind of, this one, I can put a good amount. And believe it or not, those worms will eat all of this in 24 hours. It'll be gone tomorrow night, definitely gone. Now I put that down. I don't know why, it does a better job, but I have learned that if you use the glass, it's better. You don't have to, but I don't know, it just works better. So this is one with glass. I'm going to go grab another one. When doing live cultures, always have, and here's the next one, always have more than one. Never, oh wow, this is interesting. It's got worms growing, climbing all over the place. Yeah, this one's got flies in it too. This one's got, oh, it looks like the flies got into this one. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open this one up outside. This one, it looks like it got fruit flies got in there, so I'll have to do something to get those out. Hopefully none flew out before I get my third one. You just never know. Of course, if there were maggots from the flies on the bed, I never had trouble feeding them to the fish. They eat maggots just as well as any other worm. Okay, yeah, this one doesn't have flies, so it was just that one. So what I have here is 3 separate little pieces, so I can take one. And this one isn't covered with worms. This one seems to be a little dry, even though it's moist, but it looks like maybe I didn't put enough food last time. So we'll go ahead and dip that into the tank. I'm going to feed the 134 plecos. Dip it down below. It's all dripping wet. I put it back. Now there's no glass for this one, but that's okay. And then this one, I'll also feed. Here, I'll just feed right here, this tank that we're sitting on. I'll just dip it into the water, and that's all it needs. And then this one, throw that in with the Luminatus, perhaps. And I'm done. So now, in this case, there's no glass. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread the food on top. I do this every single night, believe it or not. When it gets too mucky, you can tell by this, maybe a smell that starts forming because of the excrement of the worms. It starts to get pretty bad. So what you do is you clean your pads by simply putting them in the whole thing. You can either rinse them out in a tank and let the fish handle it, or I just blast it with my hose and kind of clean it out. And then for the next day or two, I won't be able to get as much. I have to wait for the worms to build back up, but it will be much cleaner and the smell will be gone. Strong smell, I should say. Here we go. That was it. So that was how I feed the Grindelworms. I hope that was helpful. Scrub pads. Interesting. I've seen people use scrub pads. I use the, let's see. Yeah. I'm going to show you what I use. I brought it out. This is, let me see if I can turn the camera that you take a look. Show you what I use. Without dropping the camera, of course. And this one, put this out of the way. Okay. So this is the one I use. It's super filter sponge. I got it in a, I think it's a Chinese store, and it is thick. It's thick material, maybe too thick. So you can take this stuff and cut a piece the size you want, and then I split it like this. I just split it, like rip it apart down the center. And now I have 2 pads. I often do that and use this for just about everything. Yeah, all kinds of things actually. And I don't know what all this Chinese is saying, but basically it's saying it can be used for seawater tank. I think they mean saltwater. And for freshwater tank and water weeds tank. Water weeds. Yeah, the translation is not so great, but obviously it says here that filter sponge cotton has the best effect on decomposing the excrement and the food residue. Improving the filtering and cleaning the water can reduce the death rate of fish. Yeah. Anyway, made in China, but I assume you can still get it, even though it's hard to get things from China nowadays. It takes forever. And not even possible, but very super cheap, and this is what I have available. I've heard of the sponge, or I've heard of these other ones, like was mentioned. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. So I've heard of these other ones, the guys that are using them. What did you call them? Scrubbies? I've seen people, they got them. I have some scrubbies. Hold on. I'll show you what I use. Yeah, I bought these for doing, for just wiping down the tanks. Now, on the packaging, it says not for aquariums. But it's not because it has chemicals. It's pretty coarse. And I know why they say not for aquariums. Because people scratch their aquariums because they have acrylic aquariums. But if you have an acrylic aquarium, don't use anything on the acrylic that could scratch. That's rule number one. I have the 90-gallon here is an acrylic. I would never use this on the acrylic. But if you're smart, you know that this won't hurt glass. So glass is okay. So I try not, I don't use these really, I don't use them on the breeder boxes because that's plastic also. So this will scratch plastic. But these also, this kind of scratch pad can also be used for the worms. But as you can see, they're kind of thin. That's why the thicker stuff that I demonstrated and showed you is kind of better. It's a better idea for making padding. Now, all that being said, okay, Stillwater, if you were listening to that, that's just my comments, but I also really want to try the dirt. So maybe this week I will try the dirt. I'm going to take one of these of the three and I'm going to put dirt in the bottom and transfer. I don't know how to transfer. I might just put the pad right in the dirt and put a layer of dirt. And the dirt will absorb the moisture and it might be a pretty nice way to keep the worms happy. And then you put on top of the dirt the needle point mesh, and then that makes it easy to separate the worms, and with a piece of glass on top of that between the food. And then what happens is each day you just pick up the glass and just use the glass plate to dip into the aquarium. Now the advantage of that is with that needle point mesh and the glass, it will stop dirt from being attached, because you're not really putting the glass on the dirt, you're putting it on the mesh, and that's why it's clean. So it works out to be the cleanest method if you're using dirt. So I've seen that in action, and that's probably the greatest tip for the worms. And white worms are done that way too, on dirt, and then of course they use bread. And one day I'll have some cultures of white worms and we'll be doing that. So what's next for this evening? I have same tanks as I showed you last week. We're going to I do want to demonstrate. Remember, I don't know if you remember the last time we had eggs inside of this. It was you see this device was inside this gallon jar, and it's like a vase, actually, a glass vase, and this plastic. This is a wonderful device. It really works good for tumbling eggs. Now, if you remember, we had a case where the plecos kicked the eggs out and they were all over the place, and I went and collected them up and put them in this, and then I put methylene blue inside here. Well, what were the results? The results were good, but there was a problem. I was really surprised that they went the term. In other words, I got hatching. I got actually about 6 or 7, and that's what we were looking at earlier in the breeder box there. So about 6 or 7 hatched. Poof, they all came out, but they came out a little premature. And that was something, wow, I was a little shocked, because premature means they still had a big yolk sac, and they weren't, they had a bigger yolk sac than normally, and so they hatched because I think the tumbling action actually caused the fish to get out of the shell sooner. That was the side effect. So it worked, and there were a few eggs that stayed white, but they didn't fungus because of the methylene blue. But I'm impressed. I'm happy, because I got hatches from something I normally would never be. I've tried taking those eggs and just putting them in a breeder box, or putting them in the rings inside, and they just fungus up. I never get any action. But using this method, it allows me to take a cluster of eggs that normally would just go down the drain and take advantage and get them hatched. So that's what happened, and it's a good thing. So that's good results. I wanted to share that with you. Very positive thing. So let's see. Apart from that, let's see if there's any more comments. I did see some comments about the white worms. 70 degrees. Don't you think it would make it, but 6 months still going? Huh? Yeah, the big thing is putting them at more like 55 degrees or 50 degrees. I think that was the recommendation by Bob Wilson. He had them, and we even got a little fridge from him that was is capable of just keeping a nice little worm cultures at the lower temperatures. I don't know if that is really going to work so great because I haven't tried it, but I will one day let you know. Unfortunately, it's hot in here. I don't know if I could have a white worm culture in this fish room. My Grindelworms are kept on the lower shelf, and hopefully it's not too bad. Right now it's 83 degrees, and I have the fans off. It's been pretty hot in this fish room, unfortunately, and I just sweat terribly unless I have the fans on. But it's 86 degrees sometimes. It's getting up too high. I'm not sure what's causing it. I suspect the dehumidifier, but it's getting to be kind of ridiculous, keeping the temperature lower. But winter is almost here. We're in the fall coming up soon, so then it will be a challenge to keep. Well, no, it won't be a challenge. It stays nice in here all winter long. I can come in here and it's 80 degrees, and typically I'm not wearing much, just tank top and shorts and taking care of the fish room. That's my modus operandi or MO here in the fish room because it is quite warm. So I don't think worms will do so well, but if I had the worms, I would try it. I would try to see if they can survive, and I'd like to hear what you have to say too. Yeah, fish rooms are get hot. I think when you're planning a fish room, it's very important, super important to always plan out how, if possible, you can have some ventilation and you can control the humidity and the air. Unfortunately, not all of us have that luxury, and we often just have fish rooms based on what was given us and what we have and living with it. But if, you're doing something with fish rooms from the beginning, planning it out, it's great to do that. Okay, so Agua Bonita is having decent success. Inkbird in a mini fridge. Good idea. That might work. So it's got the temperature sensor on the inside. Keeps it under a certain temperature. Just under 55, Robert Lucas says he's feeding with bread, yogurt, nutritional yeast, and also spent coffee grounds. Huh. Spent coffee grounds. I never came across that one. I'm sure it would work. It's the kind of thing that I know that people who breed earthworms, they do coffee grounds in their cultures. So people who breed earthworms for their animals, there's a lot of uses. Some people have large earthworms. They use them for their bigger fish. Some people use them for their predator fish. Others do it for their fishing. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to raise earthworms. So, oh wow, yeah, I'd love to have a big part of the house. Now that's why we got the grow out center. No space over here to grow out anything, but so I've got some future surprises for the 134s that will come in a few more weeks, and so stay tuned for your FishEZ on Friday nights for updates on that, and we're going to show off some things. Make sure I got everything. I did want to mention I have one customer. I don't know. He didn't get his paramecia going because when he got them, he said that they were fried. He said he's in Texas, so I am sorry that they weren't good. So I sent him another batch, and of course you have to understand that I'm under the constraints of Canada Post. So you hand it over, and you don't always get the same service. It's not the same as the U.S. Postal Service, but with tracking, it showed it's still going to take a while to get there. Hopefully it won't get too hot. Never had problems in cool weather. I can ship the paramecia anywhere, but I have also sent, and there's one or two of you on here on the channel who have received paramecia, and you are in Australia, and those orders went through and no problem all the way to Australia, and it took weeks and weeks. So maybe the only issue is if it's too hot and it gets too certain temperature, it might kill them all off. Could very well be. In that case, I'm going to experiment with what it's going to take to how much it would cost to get the paramecia delivered overnight, and maybe a very small amount overnight might do the trick. So don't know, but we'll find out how much that costs and if people are willing to pay it for cases where they're located in very, very hot environments. I try to make everybody happy. I really want everybody just to have the paramecia so that they can have success. I think the customer was a little, shall we say, seemed to come across a little dismayed, but I think disappointments should be postponed until we really see. It's going to just take some effort. So sometimes it's just a little more effort, a little more planning out, maybe trying a couple different things, and once you get it, you can keep it forever. It's not like you keep up the making of new cultures on a regular basis, you'll always have paramecia for your fish room. It's a wonderful thing. So I do appreciate patience when sometimes it doesn't work out, but do our best. Let's see. Nutritional yeast flakes, yogurt and bread. How long do you leave the eggs with rams before taking them? Okay, that's from Blue Water Aquariums, and I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to give you context. So if, for example, the pair will eat them, 2, there's other fish in the same tank that will eat them, 3, if you're really in desperate need of some eggs to hatch because this is maybe a pair that you really want to get some progeny from, take them right away. How long do you leave them in there? You don't leave them in there. Take them immediately and put them into a container and aerate them and use RO water to prevent the eggs from hardening. But if you put methylene blue in there, I do a nice strong dose, but I remove it after the second day. I take the eggs out, put them in just clean water. The shells themselves will be stained with methylene blue, but it will not go through into the fry. So then when you put the eggs into a clean, just before they hatch, some nice fresh water, they do great. And they hatch, and then there's not even an issue with the methylene blue. Okay, flip the coin to the other side and say, what would be a reason to leave them in there? There's several reasons. One is you want to know if your pair will eat the eggs, and you're anxious to see them be good parents because it's great to see them raise their own fry. I've had that, I've done that, I've seen it. They do a great job keeping the eggs clean. So if they're good parents and you want to do that, you can do that. And if you have too many fish, you can't sell them or you can't do anything with them, you have no clues what to do, you might want to slow it up that way by, they're going to raise the fry. They're not going to keep laying eggs over and over. And that's another reason. You might want to leave them in there. But I'm assuming you're talking about the pair rams being in a tank by themselves, on their own, free of others. So others have said, let's leave them in with the eggs to give them a feeling of being like fathers, parents, caring for the eggs, going through the motions, and strengthening that bond between the male and the female. That sometimes works too. That's another good thing to do, but then you have to remember to get them, and many times we've missed it, and all of a sudden we'll find there's fry in the tank when we didn't even know there were eggs. They can be that secretive, and if you're not paying close attention. So that happens. So in that case, you missed it. So leaving them in there, you have to know, if you see them laying the eggs. I've had many times Malik tell me, yeah, they laid them last night. Well, they didn't lay them last night because they hatched today. And so that means they were laid like 3 days ago. Are they black rams? They will hatch in 2 days. Are they German blues? They will hatch in 3 days. This is what happens. The black rams, and even I think the electric blues are this way. The hybrids tend to be very quick. Unfortunately, they're like born premature. So they're very super small. They're half the size of the regular German blues. So it's much more difficult to get them past what we were looking at tonight and looking at all those black ram fry. We were looking at fry that are just barely eating anything, and because I can put little drops of paramecia in there and give them some food, and I'll do that too. Right now I'm still using little drops of paramecia. I don't put a lot because they're small containers, and the paramecia water is foul. It's not really that good, so you don't want to foul up your entire. If you're changing the water daily, you can keep putting the paramecia. In a larger tank, like a 5-gallon, you can use the paramecia. And but just take a small container or one of the tubbies and or a breeder box size, and put in the paramecia, and you could overdo it. And what happens is they multiply so quick, and then I think they use up the oxygen in the water, and so that's another thing that's not good. So you have to be very careful. Now that happened over here. I'm going to show you. I had intentions on showing you anyway. That happened over here. This tank started to develop too much paramecia, and it looked like it was just cloudy water. And so these are German blues, by the way. There's a batch of them in this little 2.5-gallon. So what I did was, to get rid of the paramecia, you just have to start changing the water. Let's see, where are they? They're in the back corner. There's a good number of them in here. Let's see. Here from August 5th. So they're a few weeks old. So what I've done is I put an overflow on this into the sink. So this has got an overflow. So now I just need to flow this. So what I did was, it's not there right now because I had to fix a little leaking problem. And the leaking problem came from this right here. I didn't have tape on that screw threaded connection. It was dripping, so you can see it's kind of wet right here. So I had to clean it up. That's why it was removed. But for a couple days, I was just dripping. Now, what do I drip from? I take this and I drip from this tank here. This tank is a clean tank, basically. It's just got some red lizard plecos, so it's a live tank. It's working, and I just I can just turn the knob and refill this tank with my water, so I like that fact. But this tank right now I can drop just drip. I'm gonna just drip this. Let me see if I got the drip going. It's not. It's just, all it has is a. If you're a member, I'll probably be doing a video on how I'm going to change this system. I have an idea, and instead of using this system where there's just an air stone on the end of a hose, it doesn't seem like. Let's try something on that and give some. Okay, it's moving, but just so slowly. I think the air stones get clogged. As you can see, it's starting to go through, and it's gonna start flowing. Here we go. So I start dripping. I can go much stronger than this because I don't know if I don't know if I've showed you, but probably, yeah, it's dripping now. There we go. So this is going to drip, and I just do a constant drip. Now get rid of the paramecia, because the constant drip keeps flushing the tank over and over, and then eventually the paramecia numbers just die out. So water changes is how you get rid of them. But in this case, I just get rid of them with a constant drip. And I noticed that the fish were at the surface breathing. They were having a hard time breathing even with the air stones, and so I knew that what was happening was the paramecia were just, I think, using up the oxygen. So you have to, don't let it get out of control. And they were at the age where they're not eating the paramecia anyway, because now this is an overflow, so I'm just going to add a little water just to show you what happens. And when I get this, it starts getting filled up with the drip. Okay, let's just fill it up ourselves. Okay, I'm just going to add a bunch of water. Now it's overflowing. I can hear it, and it's coming down this tube. Can you see it in the corner? It's really coming, actually. Let me get this out of the way. Yeah, see that? That's flushing. This drips this over. This is one. I'm using a very small line here, a plastic. This is like the size for an ice maker. This tubing, and as you can see, it's really doing a good job. Water's just flowing through that tube. So then it just brings it down. It's coming out. See the hose? You can see some movement there. Water's flushing out because the water level is above the holes. The holes are underneath that sponge. The reason I have the sponge is so that fry won't go down the hole. Keeps fry in the tank instead of getting flushed out. Okay, I need to, let me see if I can, just want to put a clamp on this thing. So I just let it drip, and overnight it'll get to the point where the water will just fill up this, and once it gets over this thing will, you saw how much water was gushing out of this device. So it's actually quite nice because there's no way that the dripping is going to not be able to keep up with this overflow. This overflow will keep up, in other words. So that's how I took care of it. Yeah, they came out. Look at, there's quite a few. I threw the water in there. I've kind of stirred up the bottom. They think it's food time. Okay, to conclude tonight, I want to do a feeding. I'll show you how I do a quick feeding. This is how I do it, and I'm going to just show you how I, not the whole room, just the fry. So I've got my brine shrimp. It's been going. I turn off one of these and let it settle. Then I drip it out into this container down below. When it's time to go, we're ready to go. I take a 1 liter bottle. I have this 1 liter, I've had this for years.
It's a 1 liter plastic bottle, and I'm going to pour water in it. Not tap water, but conditioned, unchlorinated water. I just do that. Then I'm going to take the 16 micron container, like that. Then I'm just going to take this. And let's get the brine shrimp. This works out quite fast. Now this is salt water, obviously. It's been salt water, so now getting rid of the salt water. And a lot of people I know just say, hey, a little salt's not going to hurt, blah, 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 blah. But I do believe a little salt is good, but on the other hand, if you just keep feeding salt and salt and salt and you never notice it, it can creep up in its salinity until finally you got way too much salt and you didn't even notice. And then usually I use 2 hands, but let me see if I can get this. Put it in the water. Now I got it in fresh water, right? Well, there we go. Now I know there's a lot of brine shrimp on this thing, see? Right? So what I do after each time I empty it out is I take this thing, go over to our Danios, and here we are, and we do a feeding. This is how the Danios get fed. So I'm going to put this thing in and just shake it clean. And here come the Danios. They love it. So these are glow light Danios, also known as chopre. I think the last time we were here we had some fry. I don't see any tonight, but chopre are just eating away, and that's how they get fed. I don't actually feed them other than I do throw in some wafers for the plecos because I'm trying to get the ancistrus plecos to breed. These are long-finned ancistrus, and that one there looks like a short fin. What was he doing in there? There's a young one. And I also have a pair of red lizards in there, some albinos. But they haven't been breeding this year. Don't know why. I think it's too warm. I think the issue of the warm room is it kind of stops. So maybe in the fall they'll do it. Now, I then hang this back up. And then I look here. It's my brine shrimp in freshwater. And that's what I use. So we're going to just go around the room, and we've got these guys here. I'm doing this one-handed now, but I'm gonna just do this like, give them a feeding, and they go to town. Luminatus, and they're a good companion with the plecos. And I take it over here, just go around the room, give these guys a squirt, and then I also squirt in here. I have a few odds and ends in that tank, and then of course the Fricatus. Whoops, sorry, didn't see that. Fricatus there, boom. And here's the new fish. That was probably one of the more important ones to get fed. Gonna keep dousing them with from the early days. I'm gonna fill this up. I usually clean the bottom before, but I didn't have a chance before the live stream, so it is gonna be messy. Tomorrow I'll make sure I'll get the bottom cleaned up before I feed them. I do the cleaning of the bottom before, not after, and I'll tell you why. I like to make sure that when they're eating the new food, they're not eating it with old food.
The new food will die and become old food soon enough. And that's why. So these guys, I don't know if they're going to react to it, but let's see. See if they start moving about. These little, this food will start to attach itself to the walls of the breeder box, and that's when the plecos will go after them. Now, to check to make sure they're eating well, I look at their stomachs. Do I have a macro? I wish I had a macro lens on this. I can't even focus on that little guy. But anyway, I look at the bellies. I can't get too close. But there's the bellies. When they're on the plastic like this, I can look at them and see if they're orange and if they're full, if they're getting food. Then I come over here, and so I just go around the room, and that's how I feed how quick it is. And then I reset the bottle like I did earlier today. This is Friday this morning, so tonight I did this one, Friday PM. That's the one I did this a few minutes ago, or a few hours ago. And then this one will be in the morning. But what I often will do now is this one I will separate the eggs out, because this has been 36 hours. And I will take this one and I will put the separated ones here. So this will be pure brine shrimp, no shells. And this is what I'll use in the morning. So I wake up, go to work, I'm just grabbing this and doing what I just showed you. And that's how it works. So quick. Now, I don't have to use this. When I get to a certain point, I'm going to stop using the baster. And when I want to feed the fry tanks, I just pour it in. So, feed these guys. These are koi angels. From a beautiful pair, actually. Anxious to see if we're getting nice ones from this pair. The parents are like almost full coverage orange. These are gorgeous too. These guys are really working out well. I'm not talking about this lovely, but look at the finish on these guys. They've got some full coverage ones. I know there's a couple in here that they've got some deformities. I got these as basically a gift, and it's not meaning that they're no good or they're useless. No, they're high quality, called Red Devil Angels, and as you can see, the colors are intense and the finish is long, and there's one or two of them in here that I think are super. Wow, they're hiding from this camera, aren't they? They're not used to it. There's 11 fish in here, but you can't see them. They got good color. Really nice. But there's a couple of them in there that are super nice. Anyways, that's what we hope for, is to get some pairs out of those as well and bring that line into our stock. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It was wonderful, and we had a nice chat, and we were able to cover a lot of things in 90 minutes. But it's time for me to finish up the fish room tonight and get busy with the weekend. Hope you all have a great weekend as well. It's kind of nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. If it's your first time, please think about becoming a subscriber. And if you found something useful, hit a thumbs up. Say, hey, it's been a great opportunity to talk about little tips and tricks, things that you use, and I like what you shared with us tonight. There were so many of you that shared your experiences, and that's what it's all about, sharing and stimulating ideas. The white worms discussion was quite in depth. In fact, you all benefited more from the white worm discussion that was in the chat than I did, because I was only able to pick up pieces, being that I was, hands full and all. But wow, you guys were able to do something so nice. Talk, share thoughts, and come up with ideas, things that will help you. So I will see you next week, hopefully, and this will cover it for FishEZ. And be sure to share your experiences here at FishEZ with others. That's the best way to promote the channel. And of course, yeah, becoming a member also is helpful, but I will try to do some things now. What I'm going to use, just as a tidbit for those who are members, what I'll be sharing with you is, you saw what I was talking about, the airline. I've got a better idea with using some devices or some useful little pieces you can get that is goes hand in hand with RO tubing, the little white tubing, and you can also use clear. There is clear available, but I'm going to just put together a simple way to drain water out of that tank. Now, when I drain water out of that tank into the tank below, you really do want to be able to control it, how much you want to be able to change. So I'm going to put some valves in there, and you know, there's some neat little things that I have that I'm going to break out of the hardware drawer. And there goes the lights. It's now time to shut them down. Oh, and as you can see, there's a light still on. I'm going to show you that just as another tidbit, something I'm trying new. As you can see over now at the black rams, I'm keeping lights on. Not all of them. That one is a little too bright. This one I'll take off. That one is not going to be it. But the night light is going to be this. So this is what it's like at night. So this is the night crew. So these are some LED lights that I keep on, and I decided that because I'm feeding with vinegar eels and now the powdered Sarah fry food. This is a micro powder, Micron, and this is the good stuff. And I really feel like keeping them with enough light so they can see the food. They might be picking at it longer, and it might be a better deal than just letting them go to sleep. Fry cannot be without food for too long. So that's another very important thing to remember. It's very important to have lights. Well, it's good night to everyone, and I will pick you up, or we'll pick it up again next week and see you all there. So thanks again for the super chats. It looks like I got another super chat somewhere along the line. I didn't even acknowledge it. Oh. Well. Who was that? I must have missed that. Oh, I don't know. Medina Aquatics. Oh, maybe it's because of the membership. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's what it was probably. So thank you so much. Just great news to have people that are supporting the channel, and thank you so much. I am looking forward now to Chris Stubbs joining us at the expo on Saturday. Please come by, and would love to have you and get some pictures, video, whatever. There will be Aqua Malik there at our booth. There's all kinds of other YouTubers that will be there. And just on Sunday, even Joey Mullins is going to show up. So I don't know what kind of extravaganza will be going on at that time, but that will we'll have to come and see what happens there. So at any rate, thank you so much, and everyone have a great night and great weekend. And most of all, keep it real.